May 8th, 2025. This was the day that me and my grandparents would enter the state of California. We had been biking down the American West Coast for 2 weeks at this point, already having crossed 2 states, Washington and Oregon. In Washington, we got to experience biking through the beautiful rainforests and rugged coastlines. After that, we crossed into Oregon, biking down the famous Oregon coast. We would now be in the third and final state of the trip, California. The end would start to be in sight, but we would still have a long ways to cover. We'd bike some of the biggest hills of the trip, but get to ride along some beautiful coastline. Eventually, we would ride into the busy streets of San Francisco before approaching our final destination. This will be part 3 of biking from Abbotsford, BC to Gilroy, California with my grandparents. There's Oregon. Oh, leaving Oregon into California. It's crazy. Finally entering California would be a great feeling. Day 14 and in the final state. To start off our time in California, we would be biking down the 101 highway till we would reach Highway 1 a number of days later. For today though, our goal would be to make it somewhere near Crescent City, nearing the start of the Redwood Forest. Later in the day, we would start to see some of the first redwood trees and would get to camp among them for the first night in California. Well, we are kind of entering the redwoods. Not the big trees yet, but we're gonna get a spot to camp very soon here in a couple miles. So, it should be good. Day 15. It would be quite the exciting day. In the morning, we would head into Crescent City, restocking on food before continuing on our way up one of the biggest hills of the trip, just outside of Crescent City. It was at the top while me and my nana were waiting at the top where we met 2 other bikers, Charles and Mir, who are also biking from Oregon down to closer to the bottom of California. Over the whole ride in California, we would pass back and forth almost every day until we would reach San Francisco. It was also after Crescent City where we would even more so enter the Redwood Forests, which was quite an amazing ride to ride through. Well, climbing a very big hill to into the redwoods, it would appear. So very beautiful, but difficult. Well, we met some other bikers going down to a town close to LA. Now we are going down the big hill. Getting ready for the big descent. After going down the massive hill, we would continue on our way down the 101 highway through the Redwood Forests. After a while, we had decided that we would take a little detour off of the main highway to go slightly deeper into the forest. Little did we know though that going off the highway we would have yet another massive hill, even steeper than the one earlier in the day. We ran into Charles and Mir at the top yet again before descending and continuing our ride through the Redwood Forest. After a very beautiful detour into the redwoods, we would make our way back onto the 101 highway and ride along some more beautiful California coastline. We would do a bit longer day today, and nearing the end of the day would be a bit of a drag, but eventually we would make it to our campground at Sue Mag State Park. It was kind of cool as some of the Jurassic Park movies were also filmed in this park, but besides that, we also happened to run into Charles and Mir yet again at the same campground. So it was pretty nice camping there. We would set up camp and be able to relax for the evening with a beautiful sunset. Day 16. In the morning, we would pack our things and make our way back to the highway. In the morning, we would pass through Trinidad and then McKinleyville, where we would have some breakfast. Our main city for the day would be Eureka, where we would have some of the most chaotic traffic so far. But it would also be a pretty neat city, seeing all the palm trees and different things to see that I had never seen before. Some seals down there. Neat. Well, we're gonna stop soon for some food. Small town here. That should be fun. After the town of McKinleyville, we would continue on our way towards Eureka. The traffic would continue to get more heavy, but thankfully we had nice-ish shoulders most of the way. However, nearing the city, there was an area with quite a bit of debris on the shoulder, and because of that, I would end up getting my second flat tire of the trip. But I was thankfully able to fix it pretty fast. But because of that, I would pick up another tube at a bike shop in Eureka. There, I also decided to replace my bottom bracket yet again because the last couple days I had started noticing it wobble yet again. So I figured I'd get it fixed before the stretch without bike shops. However, getting that fixed caused even more issues as they didn't adjust the gearing with it, and I only noticed it going out of the city up the next big hill. Because one of the screws was completely stripped with my gearing, there was nothing I could do until the next bike shop. Well, got a new bottom bracket. Mine wasn't doing the best. bike issues. My big gears are not shifting. So that's an issue, especially with the big hills, but I'll see what I can do. Thankfully, we were able to make it to the next bike shop in Fortuna, just before it closed. There was no way that I could have fixed it with nothing to remove that one screw, so I'm very thankful for the guy there. We also ran into Charles and Mir again on our way there, which was cool. And then after that, we would find a campground in town for the night. Well, made it to a campground. Day 17. Today would be another pretty good day. In the morning though, while packing up, it also started to rain. It would rain a decent bit, and this would be a big part for the next 2 days of biking. The 101 highway would take us slightly inland, and we would ride through more redwood forests, which would be pretty beautiful and majestic to ride through.
Population 3,000.
That's pretty big. This is the town of Rio Del. A lot of wood. Riding through the Redwood Forest again was very beautiful. We would pass lots of decent-sized bridges and climb lots of hills. Partway through the day though, my grandpa would start having issues with his rear fender again, going a couple of the bigger hills, which made it slow going for a little bit, but we did what we could. A police officer also checked up on us to make sure we were doing alright, which was very nice of him. Eventually though, nearing the end of the day, we would reach a campground a little bit off the highway after a little bit of sketchy riding around some sketchy curves. If we're well, Nana and Grandpa stopped going up this hill, so we'll see what has happened. Well, more bike problems with Grandpa's bike. Spent a long time working on that. Take off the fender for rubbing. It's the best thing for right now. So 10 more miles for the day. Well, Garberville, 1 mile. Massive mansion. Eventually, after a long day of riding, we would reach the campground for the night. It would be nice to be able to relax for the evening. However, in the forecast, there was lots of rain for the nighttime, as well as the next day. So waking up, we would have to decide what we would do. Well, we might be taking a rest day here just because it's raining quite a bit. I was looking around, seeing what options we had, but it's just a soaking rain. So we might just stay at the campsite, wait it out, be on the road, and hopefully not have any more rain for the trip. Well, day 18 would be a pretty different day. We woke up to lots of rain, and I don't think any of us wanted to get on the road in that. So we decided we would pretty much wait it out until it stopped. We would rest in our tent for a number of hours, but eventually it appeared to be clearing up. Because of this, we thought we would take our chances and make it a short distance today. Nothing far, but at least we would make it a couple miles, hopefully not getting caught in any rain. But, of course, we did. Well, the rain has come back briefly here. We did end up getting caught in quite a bit of rain, not even too long after we left the campground. Thankfully though, there was another campground not too far up the highway. However, it was still very much of a struggle to get there. We did eventually reach a small little restaurant kind of place where we decided to eat lunch, and it just so happened to be across the highway from the campground that we ended up staying at. Charles and Mir also happened to catch up to us yet again, so we ended up having lunch together and staying at the same campground that evening. Thankfully, the sun did briefly come out and we were able to dry a couple things, and we were able to buy some wood and have a nice evening with Charles and Mir that night. Tomorrow morning, we would be doing the supposed dreaded Leggett Hill. That would apparently be one of the hardest hills of the Pacific West Coast, but we'd find out if it really would be the next day. Day 19 would end up being a pretty exciting day. In the morning, we would pack up, say bye to Charles and Mir, not sure if we would be seeing them again, and get on our way. Our goal for the day would be to make it to Fort Bragg, about a 45-mile ride. Except, apparently, it was some massive hills. We would turn off Highway 101, which we had been taking since the start of Washington, and turn down California Highway 1, which would take us back to the coast. However, we would have a couple massive hills, the Leggett Hill, which was very big and long, but definitely not as bad as people had made it sound. After the hill, we had an insane descent that seemed to last forever, about 13 miles, I believe, of pretty much all downhill. Well, probably around halfway up the Leggett Hill. It's nowhere near as bad as I was expecting. Not too steep, but just very long. So, probably around halfway right now. Wow. It was on the crazy descent where my brakes would end up seizing up. I had never had to use my brakes so much in my life because there were just so many turns and different switchbacks. When I did manage to stop though and try to make them unseized, I accidentally burnt my finger on my brakes, which was because they were just so hot, which was crazy. Besides that though, it would be an insane descent until the next hill, which would be 2 miles of uphill, way steeper and definitely way harder than the actual Leggett Hill. After we finished that though, it would be downhill until the ocean, which we would ride along until Fort Bragg. Well, going up the second hill, it's definitely more difficult, but hopefully shorter than the first Leggett Hill. But it's pretty good, very beautiful, and we'll hit the ocean today. Thinking about getting a hotel in Fort Bragg. Oh, very steep. Made it! Wow!
Smile for the camera!
Smile for the camera! Oh! Wow! There's the ocean! Yet again. Well, here is the California coast again. Look at all this turquoise water. Never seen anything like it. Wow. Finally hitting the ocean would be a great feeling. We finally got to really see the California coast, it felt like, for the first time. The number one highway would take us along the coast pretty much the whole way until San Fransisco, which would be pretty much our final destination. However, the number one would be the most difficult area of the trip pretty much, as there were tons of super steep hills, tons of up and down without, it felt like, any rest. For today though, we would eventually make it to Fort Bragg and find a room for the night. Once we got there, I would then head out, get some food for us, and restock for the final leg of the trip. Less than 200 miles until San Francisco. There they are, way over there. We'll see. Oh yeah. Well, off to get groceries and Subway, bring them back to the room. Oh, Fort Bragg, this is where we are, spending the night. Well, finally day 20. After being well rested, we would get back on the road. While getting the last couple last-minute groceries, we ran into a guy named Gus, who was also doing a bike trip down the Pacific coast, which was pretty neat. We would then continue on our way for the day, riding the beautiful countryside of the California coast. Those, yes. Oh, they're also loaded. Partway through the day, we would have to wait for quite a bit of construction. They weren't really sure what to do with us, as apparently it wasn't too safe for bikes, so we had to wait for quite a while before they eventually just decided to let us go, and it didn't seem that bad in the end. After that though, we would have another pretty big hill with many more following that. It would be tons of up and downs for the whole day. Our goal for the day though would be to reach a campground near the small town of Gualala, where we would have quite the experience later that night. Look at these fellas. Big horns. Well, just talked to this one woman in this one small town on the coast. Very informative, very nice. Apparently we're gonna pass over a fault line, the San Andreas Fault, to be neat, and climb the steepest grades in all of California. It's also crazy. It is spectacular. Believe it, the steepest climb, steepest grade in all of California. Apparently 26%. It's insane. After going up that very steep hill with a 26% grade, which was insane, we would ride through some beautiful countryside with lots of fields and flowers, with the ocean to our right. It would be a pretty cool ride, besides all of the hills that we would have to go up and down.
I know.
This is the closest point to Hawaii? Is that what this was? Fix some more bike issues, but back on the road. Well, here's Manchester, California, small town. After passing a couple small towns, we would eventually start to make our way towards Gualala, near where Campground would be for the night. Tonight though, we would have quite the experience with some pretty crazy park rangers. Going into our campground, he was there and explaining where our campsite would be, one of the apparently biggest and nicest site on the campground, pretty much. So we went there and we found the exact spot, set our stuff up, and where we also met Laurel there, another biker who was biking down the California coast, which was very cool. We talked to him for a bit and eventually went to bed, but not shortly after that though, all of a sudden the same park ranger was back, and he was yelling and shining his flashlight at us, yelling at us to get up and move pretty much, as apparently we were in someone else's spot, exactly where he had told us to go a couple hours earlier. The funny thing was that no one else was even close to us besides the other guy in the biker area of the campground. It seemed super off and pointless, and I was pretty confused as why he was having us move, but it sure seemed like it was some kind of power trip. So he even had to call backup even though we were complying, and they just stood, watched us, and then left. We had to move about 20 feet into a super tight spot in the dark while raccoons and squirrels were climbing down the trees trying to take our food. It was unfortunate that the park ranger had to make our night like that. In the morning, talking to Laurel, it all seemed pretty silly that all of that had to happen. Yeah. It was nice to get back on the road for day 21 and put that campground behind us. Our goal for the day would be to try to reach a campground near the small town of Bodega Bay. It would be a long ride to get there though. We would end up riding some insane stretches of highway along massive cliffs that would fall down into the ocean. It was quite spectacular and hard to believe that my grandparents also managed to do that as well. It was just crazy. Oh, look at that.
That they made a road along here.
After climbing some of the most insane coastline that we had yet, we would then have to go down a crazy hill. We'd have to have our brakes on the whole time, and I wasn't able to film any of it because of that. It was on this hill, which was crazy, that the guy Laurel who we had met had also gotten a flat, which is just crazy. We then had another tough hill after that, which was another slug to get up, but we eventually would make it up. Near the end of the day though, it was a beautiful ride along the coastline, and we would eventually reach the campground by Bodega Bay, where Laurel was already setting up. I would talk to him for quite a while, which was very nice, and he knows San Fransisco and the Bay Area pretty well, so he was able to help us out and kind of figured out what we would do once we would reach there, as it's a huge area. So huge thanks to Laurel. Also, later in the evening, out of nowhere, Charles and Mir also rolled into the campground, which was pretty cool. they had done a super long day today, but it was very cool with all of us being at this one campground, just 2 days away from San Francisco and the Bay Area. Oh wow, kind of Canada thing in here. Well, Laurel is camping next to us again tonight. Met him last night. Very nice guy. In the morning of day 22, we would finally say goodbye to Laurel. He was meeting a friend later today and staying at their place, so this would be goodbye. He had been super helpful and fun to talk to. After saying goodbye though and getting on our way, we would pass through the town of Bodega Bay pretty much right away, getting a couple small things before continuing on. We would go slightly inland through some more beautiful countryside. With today though as well, this would also be our last full day before hitting the Bay Area and San Francisco. Our final destination would be Gilroy, but San Francisco would pretty much be our final destination, and it would be where we were flying back from. However, we weren't there quite yet, and we would be passing through some nice small towns yet again, and have quite a nice day with a surprising amount of headwind partway through the day. Oh, this is beautiful. Shortly after a stop at Port Reyes, we would continue on and shortly turn off the number 1 highway, leaving the coastal highway for the last time. We would climb a big hill and make our way to the Samuel P. Taylor Park. Eventually, we made it there. This would be the last night camping of our trip, and before we had reached the city of San Francisco. It was quite the insane feeling being so close after all we had done at this point. It would also be quite a night for another reason. After a little while, Charles and Mir also rolled into the campground, which we were expecting, and we would spend the last night together with them. We had ridden with them pretty much back and forth nearly the whole way through California. However, as the evening progressed, more and more bikers came into the campground. It was a sight that I had never seen before, and it was quite something. Lots of riders doing an overnight from the Bay Area. It was pretty weird seeing so many others after it being just my grandparents and I for most of the time, and in California, Charles and Mir a couple nights. There were probably at least 10 to 15 people huddled into this small biker campground area. Also, I happened to catch a chipmunk that had snuck into my tent for some food tonight. But it was quite the night tonight. Hey. Oh, what I found in my tent. Got a lot of campers, bikers. It's insane. Well, the day was finally here. The day that all of our effort had gone towards biking to San Francisco. In the morning, we woke up, had some breakfast, and said our goodbyes and wished each other bye. Well, and best of luck to Charles and Mir. All the other bikers were getting up as well, so it was quite something. Eventually, though, we would get back on the road and start on our way headed towards San Francisco. Our plan for the day would be to get into San Francisco and find a BART train station. We decided to take the train to avoid most of the traffic going through the Bay Area, which is massive. And we had already made it to San Francisco, so we felt like we could do that. For tonight, a friend of mine from Manitoba, John Paul, had some family in San Jose, so they were super nice and were able to have us for the night. That was our goal for the day. It was also approaching the Bay Area where we literally saw thousands of bikers. It was insane, and I had never seen anything like it in my life. It was quite the sight to see. Lots of people were staring at us, and there were some very helpful people, but we also noticed a chunk of them not being quite as friendly as the others and other places. It was quite the entry into the Bay Area though. It would be lots of navigation, but there would be beautiful bike paths pretty much the whole way as we would make our way towards the famous Golden Gate Bridge that would take us into the city of San Francisco. Almost reminds me of what I would think Florida would be like or something. Tesla dealership. It's crazy. The 101. There's the first glimpse of the San Francisco skyline. Way over there. Under the 101. There's Alcatraz, famous island. Wow. Well, we had finally made it to San Francisco and crossing the Golden Gate Bridge. It was insane crossing as it was extremely windy, probably I would say around 100-kilometer gusts while riding around the pillars. We couldn't even bike forward at all. After crossing the bridge though, we would make our way along a bike path that was along the water, with views of Alcatraz and the Golden Gate Bridge. That path would take us into downtown San Francisco, where we would try to find the BART train station. It was such a crazy feeling being in San Francisco with both of my grandparents after biking the whole way. There's Alcatraz over there. It's pretty neat. I was gonna say for a train station. I know! Eventually, we would make our way into downtown San Francisco. We would find our way towards the BART train. People were super helpful with us for finding our way there and getting on. We are super thankful for that. The train would take us all the way through the Bay Area and to San Jose. That was where John Paul's aunt and uncle Shashil and Poonam live. They treated us super amazing once we had got there, and it was something else. We were served lots of food and had a very nice place to stay for that night. They were super friendly and interested in what we were doing. Huge thanks for them for having us for the night. San Jose. North San Jose. On the road, going to my friend John's family's house. The 101 highway, quite something. Oh, it's eBay. Day 24, the final day where we would reach our final destination of Gilroy, California, and where we would stay and visit my grandpa's brother, my great uncle Johnny. We had been treated amazingly overnight, and we were ready to take on the final day. It would be the only day of the whole trip where it would be flat riding for the whole day, which was amazing. It'd be an easy ride and almost feel something like a victory lap. Well, we had finally made it to Gilroy, California, finishing the biking part of our trip. We found Uncle Johnny's house and we met him by his pigeons. It was pretty awesome finally making it. We would end up staying with Uncle Johnny for a number of days, visiting family and being able to do some work around his property. It was neat seeing all of his award-winning show pigeons that have won competitions all over the world. We would do lots of work also trimming bushes, cutting palm branches, raking leaves, and kind of tidying up the property, which was a good use of our time when we weren't just visiting, and a very nice break after biking for 24 days straight. We would get to go around Gilroy and see lots of stuff. It was a pretty fun time, one that I definitely will not forget. I was super glad that I got to experience it with my grandparents. It was great seeing family and hearing all the stories that were shared. Eventually, our flight would be getting closer and we would get driven back to San Jose, saying goodbye. We would get back to the BART train and make our way back to San Francisco. We would have a couple days in a room to get all of our things ready and loaded into some bike boxes. We would get all of our things ready for the day of our flight back home. We would have a little bit of extra time where we would check out some things in the area of San Francisco that we were in, which was pretty neat, walking around the city a bit and taking in the last couple of days. Eventually, the day was here, and we got on our flight and flew all the way back to BC. What took us 24 days took a couple of hours by plane, and we had finally made it back to Abbotsford, ending our trip. This had been me and my grandparents' bike trip down the Pacific West Coast of America from Abbotsford, BC to Gilroy, California.